the New Orleans Saints, wide open, half open, closed for a Super Bowl 58 appearance.
So this one's tough for me because I was on record last season is saying that a healthy Jameis Winston could have led this team to an NFC championship game.
People were saying MVP for that, dude.
And I firmly believe that. When you look
Yeah.
at what this team is, I'm going to go half open. This is a playoff lock for sure. This is undeniably the worst, if not the second worst division in football. Both South divisions are going to be absolutely garbage this season, unfortunately. So the Saints are going to benefit from a couple things. I do think the Panthers are a threat because they have found a way to build a nice team around Bryce Young, all things considered.
They're going to be sneaky good this year.
Yeah, and if Bryce Young is as advertised, we could be talking about the Panthers making the playoffs, but we're talking about the Saints here. I'm going to say half open because when I look at that defense, I think that's a defense in New Orleans that gets no respect whatsoever, and it baffles me because you're talking about the last that back 3-4 years of the Drew Brees era. That was a top 5, top 10 defense yearly. Like
the
Demario
Saints
Davis,
got their best defense in recent memory when Drew Brees was headed out, and that really pained me to see as a fan because we saw the Triple Crown years and when he came in, second in the MVP voting 4 times, but he never had the defense to back him.
Yeah, no, the defense has been incredible. I'm a big Demario Davis fan. I don't think Cam Jordan gets enough respect for what he does up front. Right. Yeah. Here's my one concern. My one concern is health offensively.
Yep.
Right. I have no doubt that Chris Olave is going to have a phenomenal second year.
Okay.
I have no doubt. Like, I'm concerned about Michael Thomas and I'm concerned about Alvin Kamara. Those two guys both have been dealing with injuries and off the field things that has kept them off the field. We both know that when healthy, I'll say that Alvin Kamara is top 3, top 5 in the league. Right. And there was a point in time when we were looking at Alvin Kamara being the 1B to Christian McCaffrey's 1A because they both did the exact same thing. Christian McCaffrey's just he's a bit bigger, not as elusive, but just a bit bigger. And so that's why we gave the edge to Christian McCaffrey. This is a football team, though, that can absolutely make the playoffs. And I think if the match, no one wants to give Derek Carr his respect because of his tenure in Las Vegas, but let's not forget what we're talking. Like, we're talking about the formerly known Oakland Raiders. Yep. This is one of the worst. That was one of the worst run franchises of the last decade and a half.
Yep.
You're putting him in a franchise that has been well run, that has a history. And while we do have some question marks about Dennis Allen's ability to be a head coach, on paper, this team should win at least 9 or 10 games. This team should win the division. And this team, I think, could surprise some people and make it to the Super Bowl. But I will say it's half open. There's a chance, but it's not. A lot of things got to go right, but there's definitely a chance.
Definitely. A lot of things got to go right. Maybe some injuries. Maybe, the NFC South is a lot weaker than we like you said, we already know it's going to be the worst or the second worst or one of the worst divisions in the NFL, but how bad is it actually going to play out? Are we going to be able to get some games to go our way? Maybe some calls, whatever the case is, right? I'm going to say half open as well, though. Derek Carr coming into a new system. I'm not a Dennis Allen fan. I think we're about 8 or 9 games in last year. Michael Darby, you know this for a fact. I literally changed my fantasy name to Fire Dennis Allen because I was sick of him. I was sick of the horrible coaching. The offense was cold. It didn't look like we had just had Sean Payton and Drew Brees for 17 years. It didn't. Or it might not have been 17, but however long, so it was very difficult to see that. There are some question marks about the defensive line. Love that you gave credit to the defense, and it's been nice to see that Saints defense come around, like I've mentioned. I want to see more on that defensive line. I know we got Brian Bresee. I know we got Isaiah Foskey, and we're waiting for, more things to unfold preseason, see how they're actually performing in the regular season. Got respect for my linebacking core, really got respect for the secondary as well. To know that the Saints were a top 5 defense in total yards and were a good defense in passing last year, knowing that Marshawn Lattimore missed most of the season is absolutely impeccable, So I feel like I could even venture to say, and maybe this is a little bit of bias creeping in here, if Sean Payton was still the coach, I might venture to say that it's wide open, and I want to believe that it's still wide open because we just came off of the 4-year stretch, NFL record for wins, but no Super Bowl appearances. That's a dagger in the heart, I hate to say that every time, but that's what we witnessed with the Saints team. The biggest question mark is really health. Like you said, what's Michael Thomas going to be? I'm not a fan that we brought him back. What's Michael Thomas going to be? How much of this season is Kamara actually going to see because we make a big move at running back for Javonte Williams? Not Javonte Williams. Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams. But and then question marks about Dennis Allen. So there's going to be a couple things here that do have to go the Saints way, but I am going to stick with you and say half open there.